Hello and welcome to the newest episode of the New Year 6 podcast. We're here. We're at the finish line. Week 0 starts on Saturday. The wait is over. So what I'm going to do is my final kind of send off of the preseason. I'm going to rank my postseason top 25 teams. So I'll get into that, what that means in a little bit. I'm going to do, since it's the New Year 6 podcast, I'm going to try to forecast the New Year's 6 bowl games this year and pick a national champion. And then I'll start on some Week 0 previews. I'm going to do a lot more of those in depth over the course of the week, but time to get excited. We are here. So to kick it off, just what my postseason top 25 rankings are. I think a preseason top 25 ranking is foolish. We haven't seen a team play since January. Outside of spring games, or those are just scrimmages. So as far as I can tell, I can't put A above B above C for right now. What I'm trying to do with these postseason rankings is try to predict where teams will be in that final playoff ranking. Because right now it's just the same collection of 8-10 teams at the top, a few sprinkled in the middle, people trying to pick their surprise squads, and we all know deep down. How many of those AP top 10 teams are going to be unranked when it's all said and done. So I'm going to make some wild predictions here. People are going to look at me sideways potentially, but it always happens every single year. And let's get it started. So kicking off the postseason top 25 here. These I think are these three in particular are probably your quote unquote underachievers, teams that have a little bit of hype around them, a little bit of buzz surrounding them. And probably have playoff aspirations. I have them missing out and almost being unranked. So number 25, we're starting off with a bang. I have Ohio State. So everyone else out there has Ohio State top 2, 3, 4, 5 at worst. The way that I'm looking at this, I think they're going to drop a couple of games over the course of the season that push them out of the playoff picture. It happens to one or two of those top 10 teams every single year. I think Ohio State is one of those teams this year. It will be a failure by their standards, but they are still going to be a talented team from top to bottom nonetheless. I just don't see them getting back to the playoffs. I don't see them getting to a conference championship game. I didn't pick them in there, to win the East in my Big Ten conference preview. So I see Ohio State taking a step back this year, even if the world thinks that that's not going to be the case. 24, I'm going to go with Ole Miss. So, and Ole Miss, I don't think a lot of people have them around here. They're not their top 10, anyone's top 10 or anything like that. I think they're going to be one of those SEC schools that kind of hangs around that high teen, low 20 number for most of the season. I think they're going to win the majority of their games, lose the games that they're supposed to lose. Teams like Alabama and LSU. I think it comes down to probably them and Texas A&M, and whoever wins gets this ranked spot. But still, I think it's going to be a talented Ole Miss team, just not talented enough to upset anyone in the games that they need to get higher in these rankings. 23, another team like Ohio State, a team that's in a lot of people's top 10, top 5. I think they fall off, and this is personal bias aside. I'm happy that they're further down this list and closer to the top. I'm going to go Florida State at 23. So ultimately, there's a lot of buzz around the program right now. There's a lot of hype around them, highest that it's been in years at this point, 4 or 5 years. That they're actually relevant on the national scale. The concern that I have about FSU is we look at last year, and this was the best team that they've had in half a decade. They lost three games in a row, all to ranked teams. They ended the season with 2 struggle wins against a bad Florida team and a bad Oklahoma team. And this is supposed to be the world beaters. These are the ones that are supposed to, take the Southeast by storm. They're the ones that are contend for the ACC. I don't see that. I see them as a team that beat less talented opponents, and then anyone with a lick of talent came at them, FSU folded. They have a huge opportunity in week 1 to prove me wrong. If you're a fan up there in Tallahassee, I'm sure you want me to shut up about it, but the way that I see it, until proven otherwise, I don't have FSU anywhere near my top 10. I don't think it's going to happen. They still got to play LSU, still got to play Clemson on the road, and other than that, they have teams like Pitt on their schedule, who are due for a good upset every once in a while. So I think FSU folds a little bit. Still going to be a top 25 team, but then we look down the line and think, what are they going to do past this year? They got like 18 seniors that are graduating, and I know Norvell loves that portal. He's going to be using it real quickly come December. So next 3 teams I've got on here are really the power or the group of 5 champs. So there's always a handful of them. I have 4 of the Power 5 champions ranked. I'm just looking at it real quick. I think it's 4. So with that, with that all in mind, 4 of those 5 will be ranked, and I think 3 of them will be in a row. So kicking off at 22, not a group of 5 champ. I'll give you the explanation in a little bit. But representing Mountain West, I got Air Force at 22, not Fresno, not Boise. I'm going to go Air Force. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, in the preview video you did of Mountain West, Air Force did not win their conference championship. They did not go to their conference championship game. How are they ranked over Boise or Fresno? And the way that I look at it is Air Force's schedule is soft. There's no easy way around it. They play no one of real test in their conference. They face Boise State in week 13. They avoid Fresno State. Their out of conference is Army, Navy, an FCS school, and then I don't remember who else it is from the group of 5. But they don't play a Power 5 team. They play the lesser competition in Mountain West. There's a very legitimate chance Air Force is 11-0 going into that Boise State game. So, win or lose, and I know, again, if I have Boise in my conference championship, it means I think they win. That win or lose, Air Force will still be ranked, regardless of a lack of a conference championship. So, 21, I got Toledo. In that MAC video, I said this is the one of the best Toledo teams in school history. I think they're going to end up ranked. I think it's ironic that Toledo is ahead of Ohio State on these rankings. I know that'll be a fun little discussion. It's like when UTSA is ranked higher than Texas or Texas A&M over there. Like it's funny for those on the outside looking in. But good looking Toledo team. I think it comes together in a big way for them, and they're ranked in the top 25. Number 20, we're heading to the Sun Belt, and I'm picking Troy. So again, another talented team coming from coming from Alabama, coming from that part of the world, and ultimately I think it's it's one of the better Troy teams in school history. Troy and Toledo are going to mirror each other, just being different parts of the world, and from there, Troy has a big year, and again, ironic that Troy will be ranked and Auburn won't. So, spoiler alert for that. Alabama will be ranked, I promise you. But I think it's a good-looking Troy team. I would not be surprised if their head coach gets poached after this year and off to the Power 5 somewhere. But as far as I'm concerned right now, keep an eye on Troy and what they've got going this year. So moving on, we're at 19. I think these next. I'm going to say these next 4 teams are, your shockers. These are the teams that, in some capacity, are undervalued or underrated, and are looking to make a splash this year. And people are sleeping on them. So 19, NC State. I know Devin Leary is gone, but you have Brennan Armstrong coming in. I think the offense is built for a QB like that. I think Dave Doran is a fantastic head coach. And, NC State will put it together. I don't think anyone had them ranked in their top 25 going into this year. NC State's a talented squad, and they're going to cause problems in the ACC. when you go through my rankings from top to the bottom, there's going to be some teams on here that are probably missing that people have in theirs that I don't have in mine. NC State, I think, is going to take one of those spots. I don't have UNC on here. And NC State, I think, fills that void and brings the ACC together. So we're now at 18. I'm heading to the Big 12, and I'm going with Texas Tech. I think this is a lot of people's sleeper pick. I think this is a giant waiting to emerge, and I think Texas Tech has a huge year this year. I think there's a very legitimate chance that they're going to be in the thick of it for the Big 12 conference championship game appearance for the majority of the year. I think Texas Tech is a very talented team with a great head coach. And as a result of that, they're going to surprise people. They're going to win games they probably shouldn't. They played the majority of the Big 12 heavy hitters, including Texas in the last week of the season. Texas is not going to be on this list, but Texas Tech will. So I think it's a good year to be a Red Raiders fan. I think Lubbock is going to be bumping and having a great season, and it'll all come together for them. 17, I think this is probably right around where they're ranked in AP and other places like that. But I'm going to go with TCU. I don't think they take much of a step back this year. I think this is a very talented squad. They've shown what they've done last year with lower expectations. Now the bullseye's on them, and I think that they step up to the plate and they deliver. So I think TCU is going to put it together. I think it's going to come down to the end of the season. They very well could start this season 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, whatever it might be. Schedule is favorable. I know they have Oklahoma last week of the season. They got Baylor in the thick of it. I think Texas Tech and Texas. I think they're all kind of in that general 4 or 5 week stretch. But I think TCU is going to get through it. And I think they're a team to watch. They're a dark horse in the Big 12. And, who knows where they can go from there. But I really like TCU going into this year. 16, we're going to head back to the SEC. And this is a team I think a lot of people are sleeping on. They struggled last year, and I think they have a big bounce-back year this year. And that's going to be Kentucky. Again, Kentucky plays a very weak out-of-conference schedule, which is going to help them. They get essentially 2 to 3 bye weeks, from their out-of-conference. They're out of division outside of Alabama. That's going to be a tough one, but the reality is they're very well coached by Mark Stoops. They're more talented than a lot of teams in the East. They're more talented than teams like Vanderbilt. I think they're more talented than a team like Missouri. I think they're more talented than a team like South Carolina. So from there, I think Kentucky wins games that people aren't thinking they're going to win. And it comes together in a big way. It's another big year for Mark Stoops. If Iowa doesn't work out for this year, I think Stoops gets a call. I think they bring him home, and he tries to right the ship up there. We'll see what Kentucky looks like after that. But make no mistake, Mark Stoops is an excellent head coach, and Kentucky will see what that looks like again this year. All right, now we're at the top 15. So right now we're heading into playoff implications, potentially people on the outside looking in, maybe some playoff crashers, but these are you're pretty these are cut above. These are the teams that are 1 to 2 loss teams for the most part. 15, I'm going to go with a team that is on a lot of people's radar. Great quarterback coming back, turned the program around last year, and that's going to be Washington. I don't think anyone saw what they were capable of last year. Who saw that coming? Who saw Penix coming in, taking them to the record that they had, just bouncing back in a magnificent fashion? I didn't see it coming. You didn't see it coming. Nobody believed in them other than that team. But I think Washington comes back with a vengeance this year. I think the Pac-12 is going to cannibalize itself, and a lot of the heavy hitters are going to drop off. I don't have Utah on here. I don't have Oregon on here. So, that's going to be a result of everyone beating each other. So, I think Washington is one of the ones to survive. I think they end up as a very talented squad that, goes to the brink and maybe slips into the conference championship. They weren't one of the teams I listed in my preview video, but still a very talented roster from top to bottom. Kalen DeBoer, great coach. Michael Penix, phenomenal quarterback. And, Washington's going to do some special things this year. Number 14, a team that's, again, not on anyone's radar. I'm going to call this the Phil Yurkovich resurrection party, and I'm picking Pitt at 14. Again, Pitt is a tricky team. They win games they have no business of winning. They win by weird by weird ways, a lot of W's, and then they drop a game against a 2-9 Wake Forest team, or sorry to Wake Forest, and a 2-9 such and such team. So they lose these weird games every once in a while, but I think Pitt brings it together this year. I think it comes together nicely. I think this team evolves and takes the next step, and I think they challenge Clemson for that ACC championship. It's going to be a fun season for Pitt. I think a lot of people don't see that coming, but whatever Heinz Field ended up becoming, that's going to be a rocking environment this year. You'll see soon enough. Next up, we got 13, and in this case, another team from the Big 12. This is going to be a team that bounces back. So we've seen two teams from the Big 12 this year. This will be another. Disappointed last year, but I think they've got the people in place and the right head coach, and that's going to be Baylor. Baylor at 13. Good looking group. Always a tough place to play. Always a hostile environment and a tough place for teams to get in and win. And I think Baylor's schedule kind of proves that. Ultimately, I think they duck Oklahoma as well. And if you looked at my preview video, Oklahoma is who I had winning the conference. So the fact of the matter is that a lot of their tough games are at home. And a lot of their road games are manageable. So I think favorable schedule, good looking roster, talented team, and Baylor's going to strike back this year. Number 12, I have my top group of 5 champion. So I didn't not going to be Western Kentucky, but it is going to be Memphis coming out of the American. Again, this is a team that's going to take your New Year's Six bowl spot, and as a result of that, they're the top group of 5 team in the land. So as that comes together, I think Memphis is a talented roster. There's a reason they keep getting looked at by Power 5 conferences. And Memphis is going to show up this year. The competition in the AAC or the American is gone. Cincinnati's gone. UCF is gone. Memphis can be that top guy. They got to get over Tulane. SMU is going to be a threat to them, but I think Memphis goes a long way in putting it together for the team this year. All right, so now we are at 11. These are going to be the rest of your New Year's Six bowl spots for the most part. These are going to be your teams that bring it together and have phenomenal years. Number 11, team with a lot of hype around them. It's going to be a matter of can they get over the hump? Can they get to where they need to go? And I think they do it. And I think that's going to be Penn State. So Penn State at 11. My preview video, I had Penn State going to the conference championship game representing the East, and as a result of that, going to be in contention for a playoff spot, going to be contending for a New Year's Six bowl game. Very talented roster. Drew Aller is a great quarterback in the making. Good-looking defense, good run game. This is the best Penn State team they've had in probably 5 years. So do not be surprised if Penn State puts together a magnificent run and jumps a lot of their conference this year. Heading into the top 10 now, I'm sticking with the Big Ten. I'm sticking with the Big Ten East as well. And you might be thinking to yourself, how do you have anyone above Penn State when you picked Penn State to win their conference. And the reason being, I think Penn State losing the Big Ten championship works against them in these final rankings. So at number 10, you got a team that's on a bye going into conference championship weekend, but otherwise shows up for the rest of the year, and that's Michigan. So Michigan at 10, obviously a very talented squad, bringing a lot of production back, a lot of talent back, and, preseason top 2, 3, 4 from everyone. I got them at 10, so not too much of a drop off. But again, how does it come together? I want to see the QB play. I want to see that running back room again. I want to see what Harbaugh does. Very, very, interested to see how this team plays this year. And I think for the most part, they're going to sleepwalk through that schedule. Only a few tough games on there, and they should be able to knock out most of their opponents with ease. Number 9, we have a team that will not be playing in their conference championship game because there's no conference championship game for them to play in, and that's going to be our friends from the Independent, Notre Dame. So Notre Dame at 9, I am a believer of Notre Dame this year. I think they put it together in a big way. They have the quarterback to get it done. I think Marcus Freeman takes a huge step in year 2. The defense is there. The run game is there. Notre Dame is going to be scary. And, I don't think the world is ready for it yet. They're playing another tough schedule. If they can get through, if they can get through 2 out of 3 of Ohio State, USC, and Clemson, they're going to be knocking on the door of the playoffs. And that's the reality of it. It's a super talented team. I'm going to see it live when I'm out there for Notre Dame USC. And, personally speaking, I'm looking forward to seeing what this team puts together this year. Number 8. Now, this is the last team ranked that will not be in their conference championship game. Everyone else is going to be a conference contender, but when you figure out who it is, you'll know why they aren't there, and that's going to be LSU. So I got LSU as 8. Again, super talented roster. Brian Kelly did a great job in year 1, and I'm excited to see what he can do in year 2. Not too excited personally because Florida's got to go through there, but I think it's a talented LSU team, and it's a team that's going to make a splash this year. They could very legitimately lose one game, and it's going to, and if that's the case, it's going to be Bama. But other than that, I think they can take FSU on. I think they can take everyone else in the SEC West. Out east, I know they got Florida. I don't remember who they have on the rest of their cross schedule, but LSU should be able to win double-digit games with ease. And as a result, they'll be a top 10 team. Number 7. So this is the sleeper. This is the sleeping. My sleeper of the year. They are ranked by a lot of people heading into this preseason, but no one has them this high, or at least from what I've seen. A team that I think everyone in college football is collectively rooting for right now, given the way that the Pac-12 has just dissolved. And that's going to be Oregon State. I think the Beavers are going hard this year. They have their quarterback situation fixed to a capacity with DJ Uiagalelei. The defense was lethal. They can run the ball. Jonathan Smith is the most overlooked head coach in college football. He's at a smaller Power 5 program, and that's his alma mater. He's not going to leave, but he's going to take Oregon State to probably their best year in school history. If we're really being honest, they're not a successful program historically, and I think as a curtain call to the Pac-12, they go out guns a-blazing and taking out everyone ahead of them. I think we're all collectively rooting for Oregon State and Washington State as a community. It sucks what's happened to the conference out there. Hate the way that realignment has hurt them, but I think Oregon State delivers in a big way and takes out the hopes of a lot of teams below them. Number 6, so these are our two kind of on the outside looking in that just missed it, and this is going to be Alabama for me. And again, not disrespecting that, Alabama's going to have a bad year. I just, I think this is a very top-heavy year in general, and as a result of that, if they drop a game, it may be enough to keep them out. and especially if it's a conference championship game, you can't win anything past that. There's nothing to do. So I think Bama ends up at 6. Most people have them in that 1-4 range, so I'm in the general ballpark. And as a result of that, Bama not going to be in the playoffs, but still a very talented roster this year. I don't like when everyone starts sleeping on Saban, saying like, oh, the dynasty's over, like blah, blah, blah. We've seen this before. What he does every single time this happens is he goes 12-0 and he beats you all by 30. We have seen this before. You got to stop. It doesn't work this way. You can't be chirping at him like that. He's the greatest coach of all time. And the reality is I think they have a pretty big bounce back year after a disappointing by their standards year. Number 5, so the remaining 5 are your Power 5 champions. So someone's got to be left out. But the number 5 team for me is going to be USC. So on the outside looking in, not going to make it there. I think they drop a game somewhere that they probably shouldn't, and keeps them out of the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be Utah this year, so you can breathe a sigh of relief out there in Pasadena. But I think USC is a super talented roster, but Caleb Williams leaves USC without making the playoffs. I do think he gets a conference championship, though, so he's better this year than he is last year. He'll definitely be a Heisman contender again this year. I'm just very interested to see what their how their transfer portal moves work out. Lincoln clearly wheeling and dealing out there, and I'm interested to see how he puts it together. But just going to be short of a playoff spot. So heading into the playoffs. So these are my top 4 teams. Number 4, I got Wisconsin, and I know this is a big stretch and for some, but I like the way Fickle coaches. I think he's going to go up there and make a difference. I think they're going to get away from the 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and they got Tanner Mordecai to sling it. This is going to be a very different Wisconsin team this year than what we've seen in the past. I'm high on them, and I think they're going to be representing the Big Ten in the playoffs when it's all said and done. Number 3, we have another bounce back team, another team that takes a big step under a fairly new coach for them, and that's going to be Oklahoma. Again, I think Venables is the guy for Oklahoma. He's got his guys in place now. The defense is going to be a lot better. All the Alex Grinch guys are for the most part gone. He's brought his great recruiting to Oklahoma, and we're going to see it come together. I think Oklahoma's schedule is pretty favorable for the most part, which goes a long way into these rankings. And as a result, we'll see Oklahoma, in their eyes, back where they belong, back in the playoffs and potentially contending for national championship. So, number 2, I got Clemson. I think this one kind of speaks for itself. I know they were a little bit of a down year last year, but fix the QB situation, which I think they will, with Cade Klubnik back there, and the rest will fall into place. They still got Will Shipley, one of the best running backs in the conference, if not the country. They still got that signature Clemson defense that's going to shut everyone down. Clemson's is a talented team. So not only they're going to win the ACC, they're going to be in the hunt of the playoffs and potentially more. And number 1, I think you kind of guessed it by now. It's Georgia. Schedule is Charmin soft, which I don't blame Georgia for, because if your team plays them and your team was better, i.e. Florida, their schedule would not be soft. You play who's on the paper, and you got to do what you got to do. I think Georgia sleepwalks through the majority of their season. You'll see Carson Beck in half of his games, just because he'll be pulled by halftime. And again, that Georgia defense is brutal to play against. It's a tough time, and Georgia's going to put together another special season in Athens. So, all right, with that, I'm going to head over to the New Year's 6 bowl games. I'm going to save the playoff games for last because I'll pick a champ. But just going through these real quick, Cotton Bowl, I got two at-large teams here. So I got Oregon State versus Michigan, a reward for Oregon State for a job well done this year. And then Michigan, again, just a talented roster that's going to end up back in a highlight game. I'm not going to pick a winner for the non-playoff games, just because there's no guarantee these are happening. But if I were to pick one, probably Michigan. Let's be real here. Orange Bowl, so ACC represented. That'll be Pitt, and then they would play someone from the SEC, the Big Ten, or Notre Dame. One of those three. I'm going to throw Alabama in there as the de facto SEC representative. So Pitt versus Bama down in Miami. Pitt's going to be thrilled with that feature. Bama is not going to be thrilled because it's not the playoffs, but still a good season for both nonetheless. Fiesta Bowl, we got USC representing the Pac-12 as their champion, and I have them against LSU as an at-large. So, and interestingly enough, USC and LSU play each other week 1 next year. So this is kind of a preview of what's to come. That game will be in Vegas, so another neutral site. So we're going from a Glendale game to a Vegas game 8 months later. And I know revenge will be on both their minds. That's the fun part of the college season. There's some overlap there. And then the Peach Bowl, I've got your Group of 5 champion, which is Memphis, versus your de facto Big 12 champion, which would be Baylor. And yeah, again, a talented group of kids there on both those teams. See if Memphis can cap off a phenomenal year with a win against a marquee opponent. See if Baylor can represent their conference properly, by winning a big game down there in Atlanta. So moving on, so we have our two playoff teams, or our two playoff games. Rose Bowl, this will be, in my eyes, the 2v3. So this is Clemson versus Oklahoma. I'm going to take Oklahoma to win this one. So, from that perspective, again, I think Venables, the storyline kind of writes itself where Venables, former Clemson coach, beats Clemson. And again, I don't pick these because of storyline. I just kind of think that's a little interesting. But I got Oklahoma winning. I think the defense comes together in a huge way. Dylan Gabriel has a big year at quarterback. And as a result of that, Venables finds his groove, gets his guys, and earns a spot in the national championship game. Sugar Bowl, so Georgia versus Wisconsin in New Orleans. I'm going to go with Georgia. So no big surprise there. Great year for Wisconsin, but they're not ready for the big time. Georgia has been there, won there, and wants to win again, and I think they will. So should be pretty straightforward. But our national championship game, so I got Georgia versus Oklahoma. I don't know a whole lot of people who are picking Oklahoma to go this far this year, but the talent is there, the roster is there. Georgia's a pretty common pick, but this could be Georgia versus TCU round 2, or it could be something special. But in my eyes, the team that I've got winning, and I'm gonna pick a winner with a headgear pick, or my version of it. So I don't got the whole headgear, but I got a piece of it. But the team I've got winning the national championship this year is Oklahoma. So I'm going to see if I can get it on with headphones on. Not really, but kind of close enough. But I think Oklahoma's the team to beat this year. Where's the OU? I don't have the screen in front of me. Okay. But yeah, I think Oklahoma's the team to beat this year. I think they kind of come out of nowhere, shock the world, and as a result of that, the landscape of college football shifts, especially with Oklahoma coming to the SEC, next year. And funny enough, this was the game that was originally scheduled this year for like week 2 or 3 and got canceled. So they're going to play one way or another, whether it's in Norman, Athens, or Houston. They're going to play it somewhere, and I think Oklahoma comes out on top. All right, so I'm going to take this off because it's hot. But all right, so that is my preseason or my postseason top 25 preview with a national championship pick. So that's where I'm at right now, and really looking forward to seeing how those teams either live up to my expectations or fall below. So with that in mind, let's get into week 0 game previews. So how I'm going to do these this week and moving forward, I'm going to do an in-depth preview of 5 games every single week. They're going to get their own video. They're going to be spread out over the course of the week. Going to be shorter, probably 10, 15 minutes or so, just to get a vibe and get a feel of what's going on. This week there are 7 games. I am treating this like its own week. I'm not looping it in with week 0 or with week 1. But with that in mind, I'm not going to cover any of those games tonight. So they'll get their own video, and I'm going to cover the remaining 2 right here and now, and I'll do those quick. So first up, UTEP at Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State's first game at the FBS level. Looking at that, and I'll do, just for again, clarity's sake, I'm going to look at betting lines as well. So that's how I'm going to do a lot of my preview on top of it. So UTEP at Jackson State. UTEP is the favorite. They're favored by 1 point, and the line is, or the total is 52, at least from the odds that I'm getting. And the way that I look at this game, I think Jacksonville State comes to the FBS level and they make an immediate splash and they beat UTEP. So don't take the points, don't take the total, take the winning line for Jacksonville State. I think they're an underrated team at the FBS level. They're not going to be competing for a conference championship or a national championship anytime soon, but I think they have enough talent and enough power on that team to beat UTEP. So I'm going to take J-State, making a splash, making a making a name for themselves in Game 1, Week 0. Remember, this is the same Jacksonville State team that that beat Florida State not too long ago. I think they can take down UTEP in their own right. All right, and the other game for tonight is going to be UMass at New Mexico State. So New Mexico State is the favorite, favored by 7.5. And the total is 44.5. This is New Mexico State's first game in a conference. They were independent last year. UMass still independent, and the game as a whole is really a battle of 2 of the weaker teams in FBS. New Mexico State, I think, bounced back last year, had a pretty reasonable year by their own right, but UMass is, they're not beating anyone. Let's just call it what it is. I think New Mexico State is going to win. I think New Mexico State is going to cover the 7.5, and I think they're going to hit the over on 44.5 total. If you're going to place a bet, I'm going to hit the cover on. I'm going to hit the cover on New Mexico State. That's my preferred one. What I'll do for for games during the week, I'll do a little score prediction as well. So just to go back to UTEP J-State. This one's a little tough because I don't know how J-State's going to get to that next level yet. I'm going to do I'm going low scoring, personally speaking. I'm going to go 14-12, at least by my model. That's what I've got. 14-12. That's just due to the fact that we don't know a whole lot about Jacksonville State, at least at that next level. We've seen what they've done against FCS schools. We never seen what they've done against a full season of FBS schools. But I'm taking J-State. I'm taking mainly the under, just a low-scoring defensive battle. UMass at New Mexico State. Just to get back to that, I got New Mexico State winning. New Mexico State covers and hitting the over on the total. I'm gonna take New Mexico State. The model I have 28-18, so 10-point win. High scoring by their standards, low scoring by a lot of others. But New Mexico State, I think, should cruise pretty heavily to a Week 0 win against UMass. So, all right, with that in mind, Navy Notre Dame will be its own video. Ohio San Diego State will be its own video. Hawaii Vanderbilt will be its own video. San Jose State and USC will be its own video, and FIU Louisiana Tech will be its own video. So those are my top 5 for the week. We'll sort it out over the course of the week, but that's where we're at tonight. So thank you for listening to this week's episode of the New Year 6 podcast. Tune in over the course of the week as I do breakdowns of all the games that I've just listed. But again, we are here. We're at the finish line. We did it. We got through the summer, got through baseball season, got through everything we needed to get to where we are now. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what this season has in store for us. So thanks for your time. Thanks for watching, and check back soon.